So welcome to the next edition of the Punk CX podcast. With me today, I have Chris Morrissey. And now you've got to wait for it because he has quite a long title. He is Zoom's GM and Global Head of CX Sales and Go-to-Market. So before we get into that, hi Chris, how you doing?
Doing great, Adrian. How are you doing?
Very well.
Yeah, bigger business cards for me when that title came out. So
I know, one of those kind of things, you roll it all out and it kind of extended off the end of the business card. I mean, so I have to ask you, just for the benefit of our listeners and the people that read the highlights, can I ask you to introduce yourself and tell me a little bit more about yourself and the work you do, and including explain to me what that title means?
Yeah, it's a great question. What I do is a question I ask myself that every day, actually. But I've been in the CX business for 30 years now. So it's a long time. And it's been through ebbs and flows. CX or contact center or the number of iterations has gone through in naming and titles. I always focus more on the go-to-market strategy, all the way from having my own business many years ago that I ended up selling to another vendor, and then leading different go-to-markets and strategy and initiatives. So for better or worse, this is the space I've been in for a long time. I don't think most of us in this industry went to university or college saying, I want to land in the contact center business or CX business. We kind of start paths and we all land here in different avenues. And if you like it, you stay here forever. And if you don't, you kind of bounce around. But what I found in this industry is most people I work with have been in the industry for a very long time. And it's usually because they have some sort of passion towards what it is we do in terms of like how customer experiences can get better, how brands can delight customers better. If you're passionate about those types of things, you tend to stay and approach it from different angles. So fast forward many years, I landed at Zoom 2 years ago, where the title general manager or GM, global head of go-to-market sales, it's really all encompassing of everything we do at Zoom in terms of bringing what should our products be doing, what should we do integrating with, how do we do our channel strategy, how do we go to market, who are we selling to, how do we deploy, everything to do with building the customer experience practice at Zoom. Mm-hmm. And I'll say two things. One is the person that had the role before me was Eric Ewan, our CEO. So it's not lost on me. I'm filling some very big shoes. And he had to move on. He's running a much bigger business at Zoom overall, so he couldn't be a GM as well as running a business. So I was lucky enough to be here at the time and take that over. But it is also very cross-functional. We work with GMs across the business, whether we are phone business or meetings business or our revenue. Like, we don't view our products in silos. In fact, we view the collection of our portfolio, better than the sum of its parts.
Awesome. Now, the reason why I wanted to have you on the podcast, because one, I've seen some of the things that interviews you've done in the past and some of the things you've said. And there were some of the things you shared with me in the run up to this that I wanted to explore, because I just thought what you said was interesting and slightly contrary. We like a bit of contrary. So first up, everyone is talking about being AI first these days. And I sometimes just go, my head drops a little bit. But this is a great word, you eschew that term and talk about being connection first. And I wanted you to explain to me, tell me, Chris, what do you mean by that?
So I love actually that you picked up on it. And it's something I feel I'm actually passionate about for a number of reasons. One is you actually alluded to AI first is, well, like I think most people roll their eyes or shrug or look away when they hear it, because it doesn't describe anything other than the company or vendor is so excited to let you know they use AI. That's all that it does, right? But it does nothing with, like, as a consumer, well, what does that mean to me, right? It's like a very inward-looking statement. And it also focuses, and to see the same, by the way, doesn't differentiate. And it doesn't kind of give purpose to, I think, a vendor or company. Like, what is it you're rallying around? Why are you using AI? Like, if you say we're AI first this, AI first that, like, what gets lost is kind of the why the company exists. Why are we actually in business? Are we in business to develop AI tools, or are we in business to do something for our customers?
Outcomes, right?
Outcomes, right? So that's why I say, we're a connections first business at Zoom. Now, I'm not going to overarch into our chief marketing officer world or anything in marketing. This is more of the perspective of our CX business. But if you think about the connection first. Everything we are doing is about building connections, whether that be a brand building a connection with their own employee base, which Zoom has been doing forever with the collaboration tools and meeting, or now it's like isn't establishing a connection between brands and customers a natural extension of that. So we really are about building connections. Now, I qualify the other piece I would say of that is if you look at some of the vendors and some very big vendors, brand names, market leaders, if you want to out there, they're AI first this week. Last week, they were analytics driven, right? 4 years ago, they were cloud native, right? They're focusing on the technology, but
before that, they were mobile first, I think.
Mobile first, right? It's all these buzz phrases that focuses on which changes. But if you're really passionate about what you're doing, connection first will not change with Zoom. How we deliver it might change. I guess AI for the next several years, I can see it. But it doesn't mean if there's new technology, we're like, oh, now what is Zoom going to do? No, we're always going to be focused on delivering connections and outcomes, right? So I think that's one part of it. But I have to be very clear. That does not mean Zoom is not investing in AI, right? In fact, we're probably investing more in AI than most of your AI first companies, right? There's the irony in that statement, right? We invest very heavy in AI. We think it is by far the single largest tech transformation revolution we've seen, certainly in my lifetime. To minimize that, I think would be a little tone deaf. So yes, we are leveraging AI and analytics and agentic and all these other things that you hear, but we're doing all that predominantly to deliver out connections for our customers, whether that be to the employees or the customers.
And I think that what I find refreshing about that is that it's like vision led, right? Yeah. It's almost like outcome led. It's almost like saying, oh, here's what we want to kind of deliver. And we're going to use all of the best tools that are available to us in order to deliver that. And that's just part of our strategy. And the strategy and the tools and the technology that we choose or we put in our toolbox will change as things and the environment and things that become available to us change. Yeah. But the connection piece becomes a timeless thing. And it's a timeless story.
It is. And it goes back to the origin story of Zoom, right? When Eric started the company, his objective was to connect people, right? And that's how he did it the way of meetings and focusing on his connection with his customers. That's his origin story. So it's kind of a natural progression, I say, of Zoom's journey, focusing on outcomes and not technology. No one, what happens if AI changed tomorrow? Let's say like it won't happen, but let's just be extreme for sake of controversy. There's a mandate from somewhere saying you can never longer use AI in contact centers for whatever reason.
Or if somebody invents kind of like a new technique which doesn't require kind of like gazillion bytes of kind of data and X amount of compute and everything else, which just kind of works on simple CPUs, and it's like, wow, it's brilliant. Does everything you want it to do.
We'll call it now super AI. Does that like, are we now a super AI company or like, like the what do you do when you tie your value to a technology versus an outcome?
Yeah, perfect. I love that because I'd imagine that's actually probably it's a message that probably resonates with people because there's a lot of noise, and actually maybe that's a clear signal amongst the noise.
It is. In fact, sometimes I'll be extreme and say, I'm going to say something very controversial is Zoom CS is not an AI first platform. Right? I'll start that way.
Okay.
Just to get out of the way. All right. And then it leads into these other conversations about why, and has nothing to do, I'll tell you, I pay massive homage to our AI team, our innovators, our research team. They are doing phenomenal things in the world of AI. I don't want to minimize it, but it's just as a brand, we were really about connections.
Excellent. So the other thing that I wanted to pick up on that you said was that you said that reducing effort often outweighs everything else in customer experience. And I wanted to, because again, that's sort of almost a bit an allusion towards the kind of whole frictionless experience sort of thing and reducing effort. And I wanted to help me understand and help me kind of ask you to sort of unpack that. So ask you, say, well, what do you mean by that?
Yeah. And we've seen this come up from, I wish I could say I invented the concept and trademarking it, but it's been out there for a while. We've seen a lot of different analysts lean in on it different ways over time. And the way I relate to this is the great thing about what I get to do is about customer experiences, and we're all customers. So I relate everything that we do for customers and how we try to help brands at Zoom about the experiences that I have and what I feel is a good experience and what I feel is a bad experience in my daily life. So it's analogous to if I was in an engagement with a human agent, and I'm asking them a few questions, and at the end of it, they answer my question very quickly, and they say, at the end of it, they're like, how well did that agent handle your call? I'm like, great, they did great. High CSAT score. And that's a micro measure of an engagement. But if you take back, let's say I was in an IVR for 20 minutes, ones, twos, threes, fours, trying to figure out what I was getting done. Then I went to a voice bot, AI driven, and it was very friendly and empathetic, and it was asking me the right questions, but it couldn't solve my problem. Right. So then it went to a chat bot, and that didn't solve my problem. And then finally get to a human agent, and it solved my problem. Right. Now the human did a great job. Right. So they have a high CSAT score. As a consumer, that was an awful experience, because what you don't know is I spent 20 minutes navigating different phone numbers, different chats, got lost, chat ended, no context between switching those channels.
They should know that if they got their analytics in the game in place.
I know if you're experiencing that, by the way, give us a call. We can help you. But no, if that's the experience, it's awful. So, and those are the things that you remember most as a consumer. I remember less that when I finally got the right path, it was solved. What I remember is the entire path, and it was a very painful path. And that's, if I have an other problem or an issue or a compliment of that company, I just don't want to go through that again, right? I'd rather have very low friction, and maybe it's and personalized, and it solved my problem. Like, then you're not worried about the next event, because if you have another event or issue or concern, it's going to be seamless. It's going to be flow it through, even if it takes multiple attempts. But it's like those attempts are very quick, like 30-second engagements, 20-second engagements, right? Through the channel by choice.
Do you think also there's something that's driving it? It's almost a bit like a meme that we need to reduce the friction and things, and that becomes this almost like everybody's going down that kind of path, everybody's following, but then it ignores that sort of fundamental sort of misunderstanding of the experience that customers go through, because sometimes a little bit of friction, a little bit of effort can be important and can be the thing that kind of adds kind of like value. And it feels to me that sometimes people are just almost taking the easy route, thinking, oh, we have to reduce this because that's what gets done, or that's what people are doing.
Yeah, it's an interesting observation. I think friction exists anywhere. I would say if you're a customer and you have to proactively reach out to the brand, there's implied friction already, right? That is friction, because why I'm reaching out because something didn't happen, or I have a question, or something's not resolved. So there's almost, in that very nature, that very event of having to reach out to the brand, there's implied friction from right? So that I would say exists anyway. And then, but on the flip side, if you solve it, and there's a friction, you can solve it very quickly. You become like a troublesome customer to a very happy customer because it was resolved. And I think that's powerful for brands to do. And I think they should continue focusing on it. I also say friction it's certainly about the consumer and the brand, but it's also the employee in the brand. And sometimes agents they have some of the hardest jobs out there, because they're like, hey, here's your number one job is we want you to help these customers and engage with them and make them feel appreciated and valued. And here's the 6 applications we're going to ask you to use. And here's the 4 different places you get your answers and knowledge bases. And when you're done, do these 17 tasks to update what happened on the customer engagement. And then do it, and they might be angry, and then do it again with a smile 5 minutes later. It's a tough job, right? So we have to reduce friction for the agents too. So that, and if you can do it, reduce friction from the agents and reduce it from the customers, then magic will happen, I think.
Yeah, no, I think so. But I think my point was that it was around this idea that I think we have to be more considered about some of the sort of things where we think about kind of reducing kind of friction. Because I remember and understanding kind of where friction plays a good role and where it plays a bad role. Because actually in physical terms, friction can create wear and tear in the physical world, and it can break things. But also friction creates fire and heat. And that's, sometimes that's a bad thing, sometimes that's a good thing. Because it also reminds me of a story that I was told by somebody who was working with a brand. It was a CEO of a tech vendor who was working with a brand and who got carried away with this whole idea. It's like, we have to make our our digital experience friction-free, like seamless and friction-free. And they did all that. And they got straight through. So it was like a straight through processing thing. And they found that people went through the process kind of much quicker and it was all good, but their attrition rate, the churn rate fell off a cliff.
Wow.
And they were a bit like, what? It was catastrophic. And they actually then looked into it kind of really closely. And what they realized was there was a part within that process where customers had to make choices about what they wanted, right?
Yeah.
And what they didn't realize was that whole part of the process, while it was friction full, as it were, was the bit that created all the value. Making customers make the choices that was very personal to them, that's the thing that created the value and drove up kind of the loyalty and the retention. And so when they understood this, they were like, oh my God. And then they unpicked it all to back to the point where they made it all friction free apart from that one bit. And that's what I mean by the whole sort of thing. It's like, be a little bit circumspect when people can say do this, but then you have to understand why you're doing it. What's the benefit? What's the trade-off? What's the risk? All those different sort of things.
Yeah, it's very insightful. I have heard similar stories where sometimes if you focus on just effort, you can, people can, leave your business, but you haven't had the opportunity to explain, we have a new service, we have a new offering, we have a new price package, right? So you need some, I don't disagree with that. I think it's a good point. I would say focusing on both, like reduce effort where you should reduce effort, right? Make that easy, make the easy stuff easy, maybe the hard stuff a little bit harder, right? But know very well what it is as a company or as a brand you're trying to get done, and know your customers, and you'll find a happy ground in there, right?
Yeah. And sort of we're going to go back to so the point I was making was all about trying to help people personalize their own sort of experience, as it were, and how the value of that. And that brings you on to the next point, is that because one of the next things you said is you called out this difference between lip service personalization and true personalization.
Yeah.
I'm going, bring on the controversy. Tell me the difference, why it matters.
Yeah, I sometimes I make up terms, so I'll start with that. But so the way I describe it is the lip service is, if let's say I was a brand and you called me, I'm like, welcome back, Adrian. I value you as a diamond customer. Welcome back, Adrian. I welcome you as a diamond customer. And you think of, when you say personalization, the best way to define personalization is what are your relationships like with your friends, right? There's nothing more personal and family. Now, if I had a very good friend and every time I saw that friend, the only thing I ever said is, welcome, John. Thanks for being a good friend. Welcome, John. Thanks for being a good friend. That was the extent of our conversation. It wouldn't go very deep, right? And then it starts feeling like rote and not sincere and scripted and all those other things. So I think that we need to move from that. And as consumers, we give a lot of information to the brands we work with. Like, they know a lot about us, right? We spend money with them. Netflix, as an example, knows like all the shows I watch and the movies I like, and my airlines I work with know what I like. That's like, and I'm okay giving that up, but use it in a way that's personalized to me. And I paint a picture of like, and the other thing I say, the second a brand starts adding value beyond the walls of just what that product or service that brand offers, I think will be a phenomenal experience. And I think it's a very simple one. So think of the example I would give is I'm calling to travel and I'm going to go to Edinburgh, say, like I have a flight out there. And they know I've been there before. And as they're, hey, welcome back, Chris. So I'm booking this trip. Now, I would probably do it online, but let's say I have to talk to the airline for this. And they said, oh, I see you there for a month ago. We actually just seeing here, the weather's going to be rainy there. So don't forget to pack an umbrella for this trip.
Right.
The airline, like, that's a very simple thing they could change, right? It's personalized to me. Don't forget to pack an umbrella, and we hope you enjoy your trip again. Something more like a friend would say because they know me. I think the more brands can use that and make it feel like you're talking to someone that legitimately knows you and cares about you and personalizes it, those are conversations you're okay engaging with it. But the scripted welcome back, you're valued, welcome back, you're valued, I think it's going to get a little rote, and it's actually going to become probably it's not genuine, and unless there's a little something extra doing to feel genuine.
I mean, it's a bit of a turn off. I've got a couple of examples that where I think about companies that I've been a customer of for decades, probably. I mean, one is, say, a bank that I bank with. I've been with them for decades. And then you talk about the kind of product side of things. So then we want to do a review of this. And they go like, oh, we see that you have a mortgage and we'd like to, pitch for your mortgage business. I'm like, going fine, knock yourself out. They're like, oh, great. Now we're going to send you a form, which is like 20 pages long, that you're going to fill in. I'm like going, no.
Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah. You're like going back to the effort point. You're like going, you've got all the financial history that you need.
Yeah.
Why don't you just kind of ask for my permission to do some calculations and then send me an offer with some disclaimers and all these sort of things that's in there. And you go like, that's fine. I mean, like going, why are you stuck over here when you've got that information? Probably more about me than anybody else in terms of my financial history. And then a bit like going to my mobile phone provider when the contract's up and they go, oh, such and such, blah, blah, blah. And then they go, oh, I'll say, oh, that's rubbish. I'm going to go shop around. And then they realize then they have to look up. They're like, oh, we can see that you've been a subscriber to our network for the last 10 plus kind of like years. And you're like, and why is that not front and center?
Yeah. Well, it goes, actually, you bring up a good part, because it's a lot of it is the personalized and, making it feel more sincere. And then we talk about effort. These things kind of intersect where it needs to be more outbound, proactive outreaches to personalized. Like there's things that consumers do that you'll see a certain trend, and don't wait for them to call you. Examples, internet outages, just everybody does internet outages, give them regular updates. Traffic issues, flight delays. A lot of companies do very well, car services, whether it be a Grab, Uber, or Lyft, right? They, we're so used to as people, humans now, like getting alerted on everything. Your gate changed, your Uber's 5 minutes away, your Lyft will be there in 2 minutes in this type of car. Shipping is on the way. So in our lives, we're very used to this proactive, keeping me updated of what's happening. But as consumers, we hold every brand we work with at that level of expertise now, right? It's our experience. So it's not resolved just for, call it, tech companies. It's resolved for every brand I work with. So I think every brand needs something about how you make this more proactive and personalized, and I'm pretty impressed with so far. And I don't think I've used AI once, but we'll change that soon. But like we're talking of how the experiences, like I got to see, there's got to be a record in there, like at this day and age, a 30-minute conversation without AI coming up yet. But
well, I mean, I think that's good because we're focusing actually on the outcomes and the vision and everything else. And these are just kind of like tools, but you introduce the future. And I guess the future is kind of like here in terms of, customer interactions. And one of the last things that you said was you talked about moving beyond chatbots and what the future of customer interaction kind of looks like. I mean, from your perspective, can you talk me through what you mean by that? What you think it is going to look like? Where are we heading towards in this AI first world?
Yeah, so I think like chatbots or voice bots or something bot, right? It's out there, and you can tell it's popular if you believe any of the stats right now. In the past, well, early days, everyone thought voice was going to die, right? Voice as a channel was going to die, and now it's kind of the fastest growth self-service channel. So experts get it wrong every once in a while, is what I'd say to that comment. So I think voice is growing faster than chat in terms of a self-service channel. But with that, it's focused on really resolving a customer issue and personalized and all those other things we talked about. It's the very tip of the iceberg in terms of what happens to really support that customer, because there's workflows in the background, there's insights across the business, there's other things that typically agents have to get done. So it's not just, yes, of course, delivering a good customer experience, answering the questions, letting them like express in a human conversation flow, multi-intent turns, and Are you remembering me? And all these other things you'll hear talking about LLMs and memories, and which are important. I'm not dismissive of them, but it's beyond that. That there's also complex workflows. Now I have to go to a ticketing system and update something. Now I have to go make sure some paperwork or system is filled out so I can get the shipping done. Then I want to make sure I send a text or WhatsApp to the customer to confirm that it's happened and give them regular updates. It's all the workflows in the back end, internal and customer facing, that you want to automate there. So it's beyond just the engagement. It's kind of the orchestration of what happens throughout the organization. Which is one of the things I mean by that. And then the other one that actually I'm a little bit more excited about is, historically, contact centers have been looked at as a vertical practice within a brand, right? We have a contact center and it's its own department, and that's where all the magic happens with our customers. And, we have all these funny acronyms we use in the contact center world, but no one else in the business really knows what they mean, because we use AHT and FCRs and but it didn't really elevate to the point of where it became, like, call it executive level insightful. It was just kind of a cost center. There is so much, like the way you can get so many. Well, first of all, you have to differentiate on customer experience this way, because the switching brand, the cost of switching as consumers is getting easier and easier and easier. Right? As consumers, we're very impatient. We won't take too many bad experiences before we move on. It's easy. But the insights coming from those engagements is so valuable across your product team or your services team that delivers products and services, about your marketing team, your sales team, your executive suite. So I view customer experience more of a horizontal practice these days than call it a vertical department. The insights going from them to your product team. So real time, is there anything you need to change in the product or service to make it more competitive? Are we messaging it the right way? And how are consumers responding to it? What are our competitors saying? You get so many insights that those insights absolutely should be shared in real time or close to real time in every department, not just your contact center. And then you need a CX leader that sits, that understands what the system engagements was happening, and can be a cross-functional stakeholder on how important that customer experience is to every department in that organization, just not the contact center. So I think that's the other beyond bot commentary I'd add.
Oh, I mean, I think I completely agree with that. I think I've always believed that the customer service, customer support, contact center has always been the biggest and the fastest growing real-time data set, or set of data insights. If you want to know anything that's going on with your kind of company, then speak to somebody in service and support.
Absolutely.
Now, technologically, the analytical capability to be able to refine that for that sort of those interactions, whichever channel it's coming across is and to refine them for intents and emotion and satisfaction, all these things is all kind of happening. And also is the kind of the plumbing to pipe it into other kind of parts of the organization is becoming increasingly available. And I wonder if you also think that there needs to be a bit of an organizational sort of like change, a shift in the way that people view the contact center, sort of like around how they receive this information, because that feels like the next big thing. Because let's face it, people in product, people in marketing, they don't really hang out in the contact center.
No.
And they sometimes, I say sometimes, don't necessarily value the work they do, because they don't really understand the scope and the breadth and the depth of the work that gets done. So do you think that's probably a big thing that's going to come up that they might need to wrestle with?
So I hope so, right? Because I agree with you. I do think for a long time, contact center just said, and I purposely don't use that term anymore, because I think one's a little bit long in the tooth. I think it's got a negative connotation. It elicits thoughts of, just people sitting in rows and rows of booths and cubes, not happy with their lives, trying to get through a day and not really caring about the brand, which is not really what's happening at all, right? But these are the imagery I think that it conjures for a lot of people. But the insights, I couldn't agree more. A lot of people probably didn't. It was just a cost center, it was almost like a deflection. Like, if contact center answers the calls, I don't have to answer the calls. But the insights there, and the two shifts I'm seeing is in a lot of the customers we work with, most people that working in that comic, they are truly passionate about the brand they work for. It's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. Like they represent the brand better than most people in the company. Like they really want to deliver amazing experiences. They believe in their product or services. They love their customers. Like that's inherently in what they do, which I think is an amazing trait and characteristic. But the insights there have to be used across the organization, and they have to realize the value of these engagements. There's more insights probably in a month's worth of engagements in a contact center than there is in probably 18 months of what's in your ticketing system or your CRM system, right? In my opinion. So let's go where the value is, unlock the value, and then elevate, the importance of that. But you need someone strong in that organization, in the customer experience org, that's willing to go and be that voice across departments and be able to link how important those engagements are to what you're trying to get done in product or what you're trying to get done in marketing, right? You need a champion and a technology. You need both at play.
Perfect. So those are some of the things that I wanted to highlight. I mean, before we sort of wrap up and do some quick fire sort of kind of things. I mean, what's next for Zoom? What can we expect kind of coming up?
Sure, there's a lot. It's we joke around here that we operate at Zoom speed, and actually it's not a joke because it's an actual truth. A few things I would say is we are making a lot of investments in how we look at all these engagement touch points, all these connection touch points. So you think of like a meeting like this that we're having, like a Zoom or a Zoom phone call, or we have events and webinars, right? Which is some of the other products we have, more of the marketing tools. We have Revenue Accelerator. We have the contact center. We have all these different WorkVivo, which is the employee engagement tool. I think people are very, very surprised at how wide Zoom's portfolio is, for foremost. But now that we have that, is how do we actually, because we have those domain expertise in all these different pillars, we have domain expertise in collaboration internal, and in our org, we have a lot of experts in my org that I'm thoroughly impressed with that have very deep customer experience expertise, and then the marketing side. So we can bring a perspective on, if you look at how workflows should flow and insights should flow, and then you layer AI on top of how AI is going to be able to flow, go from an orchestration standpoint across the organization and bridging closer, kind of workflows and customer engagements and customer experiences. I think it's bringing more of the organization together with a unified view and bringing customers into the mix too, right? Getting them more into the flow. And leveraging AI across all those workflows and integrating with all our partners, and just using insights to automate tasks and completion, right? I was over what I simplify. And I think Zoom's an easy place to make that happen, given these different kind of domain experts we have across the organization.
Perfect.
But always for connection first. Connection.
Obviously. I'll hold you to that one. So before we get to quick fire questions, anything else that you want to highlight that I missed out?
No, I think we covered a lot of it. It's I'm actually impressed we didn't go too deep into the AI world, but this is what we're passionate about. If you can't be passionate about, right, delivering connections and outcomes, then no amount of technology in the world is going to solve a problem. So.
No, indeed. I mean, I think that's one of the things that really resonated with me, is that connection first rather than AI first, because you hear about it and then it becomes a bit of another bandwagon that kind of people jump on, and then as you say, just kind of again and again and again, and you're going, I have no idea what that means.
I'm to the point now when I hear AI first, I don't even hear the next word, because it's just, I'm already tuned out.
Yeah. So here's a few quick fire questions. First one up is, I always like to boil everything down, and we talked about a bunch of different things, and ask for people's best advice. And the way I've been doing that recently is to ask them to complete this sentence. And the sentence is this: if you want to improve your customer or employee experience, Chris says, do this, ... Complete that sentence.
Great thought. One sentence? Because it's very hard for me to get things in one sentence. No, but it's a fair, I would say focus on, it's hard to answer this without sounding, cliche and buzzwords, but it's low friction, hyper personalized, and know that you're trying to drive what the outcomes the customer's trying to get achieved, and align it with the outcomes you're trying to get achieved as a brand. And if you can align those two things, then that'll happen, right? So it's just clarity there.
Very good. Next one is the punk related one because, well, this is the Punk CX podcast. And so here goes. What company or brand do you think takes a more punk approach to customer experience, and why?
So I'll give one. I'm amazed, and you've been in this space for a while. Every time I meet with I'm amazed at how many companies are out there. I learn about a company that didn't exist like every month. I had no idea this service exists in the world. So I've had the pleasure working with a lot of good brands, a lot of markets and things that I didn't even know existed. So, but I call out one that one of the things that I loved about what this company does. The company's Cricut. They do it's the home crafts person. All the tool they do, home crafts person. The one thing I love is like the amount of passion their whole organization had for their customers was something you couldn't teach. No technology would replace that. They had an amazing culture, right? They just native to what they're doing. But then how they use technology and the proactive, and they were actually using videos now to communicate with their people who are trying to craft. And I think that's an amazing touch point in where no one would ever thought video would have been a communication path with contact centers in the past. And now they're actually doing that. And, people are showing like their craft projects with, as a craftsperson, look what I did using that machine. I mean, it's amazing connection. That's how you're connecting the brand with the customer. I think it's a good example of really focusing on the connections and then choosing which technology helps deliver those.
And that's Cricut. Is that CRICUT? Is that right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
It is.
So final question before we wrap up. And if you're anything like me, sometimes you wake up in the morning and you're sort of bleary-eyed, you look at the news and then you go, oh, it's doom scrolling. And what I've been doing recently, well, actually for a good while now, is asking people to tell me a good news story. So Chris, can you tell me what's the most interesting, positive, or exciting thing that you've seen in the last week?
Well, top of mind is my daughter just came back from college yesterday, surprised me with that. So that was amazing. So like, I'm still on a little bit of a high of that, but in the business world, to me, small things matter. And I think this applies to experiences. Like when we're talking about brands, the hyper experiences, like I went to a hotel that I frequent a lot. Sadly, I travel a lot, but it's a been to many times. And about 3 trips ago, I left earbuds there, and I went back, and it's like 4 trips later, and the person remembered, and they had shipped them to me. And there's like, hey, did you ever get your earbuds? I remember you lost them, you spoke, and I shipped them to you, or something like that. And it was like just a small, like you actually remembered me from something that happened like 6 weeks ago, and you're bringing it up to make sure everything happened. Like that small little thing makes a difference. I'm like, it's not like welcome back, thanks for being a diamond member. It was that moment of like, they remembered me and my earbuds and wanted to make sure it was completed. Like that, I think that's kind of a cool experience I had.
That's super cool. So thank you for sharing that with me. I also thank you for sharing your time and your insights and your experience with me today. That's been super cool. So thank you.
No, it's been great chatting with you. Great questions, and I love your insights as well.
Thank you.
Wow, what a great interview. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. Find out more about me and the work that I do at adrianswinscoe.com. Do leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. And if you have any comments, feedback, or questions about the podcast, then feel free to send me a message to podcast@adrianswinscoe.com. And do tune in again. Thanks very much.